turn the key and the engine catches with that familiar growl. The heater kicks on, pushing warm air into a cold cabin. And for a second, you almost believe it's just another normal morning. But it isn't, because out here in the Pacific Northwest, the rain doesn't just blur the windshield, it blurs certainty, it blurs confidence, it blurs the story people have been telling themselves for years about safe markets, guaranteed equity, and the idea that Washington and Oregon can only move in one direction. For a long time, this region lived on three powerful beliefs. One, tech jobs would keep expanding forever. Two, remote work would keep pulling people north forever. Three, there would always be a line of buyers behind you, ready to pay more than you did. That story created a kind of arrogance in the market. Sellers priced like gravity didn't exist. Builders built like demand was guaranteed. Investors bought like cash flow didn't matter. Now the environment has changed. Mortgage rates eased from the extremes, but affordability is still tight. Sales have ticked up in spots, yet buyers remain cautious, and inventory growth has been uneven because many owners are still locked in to old low-rate mortgages and don't want to sell. That creates a weird, unstable setup. Fewer listings than a normal market, but not enough qualified demand at today's payment level to keep prices accelerating the way they used to. Nationally, existing home sales rose modestly in November 2025, while the median price was up only about 1.2% year over year, and inventory stayed constrained. Conditions that keep markets from crashing cleanly, but also keep them from feeling healthy. And when a market can't crash cleanly, it does something more dangerous. It stalls. It spreads risk quietly. It punishes bad timing slowly. That's why this video matters. Because today, we're taking a road trip through 10 cities where the numbers are flashing warnings. Places where the gap between what sellers want and what buyers can afford is stretching to a breaking point. Where days on market are rising, where sales volume is thinning, and where the easy exit mentality is dying. This is not about panic, it's about positioning. If you already own in these areas, you need to understand what kind of market you're in so you don't make emotional decisions. If you're thinking about buying, you need to know where the risk is concentrated because buying the dip only works if you're not catching a falling knife. And before we start, quick disclaimer. This is educational commentary, not financial advice. Talk to licensed professionals before making any move. Now, wipe the windshield, merge onto the highway, and let's drive straight into the data. Number 10, Salem, Oregon. You roll into Salem through gray skies and clean neighborhoods that used to feel insulated. A capital city, government jobs, a slower pace. Historically, the kind of place people assumed would never get hit the way boom and bust towns do. But stable doesn't mean immune. Salem's story is simple. It became a pressure valve for Portland. When Portland got expensive, buyers spread out. Salem benefited. Prices climbed fast, and for a while it felt like a permanent upgrade. Now, the market is showing classic late cycle behavior. Homes aren't flying off shelves anymore, and the time it takes to sell is stretching. Redfin's November 2025 snapshot shows Salem's median sale price around the mid 400K range and up year over year, but the bigger tell is liquidity. Homes are taking roughly 2 months to sell on average, and sales volume is down compared with last year. That matters because a market can look fine on price while it quietly weakens underneath. When sales drop and days on market rise, sellers eventually start competing. First with concessions, then with price cuts, then with desperation. The warning sign in Salem isn't just price, it's the feeling of friction returning. When friction returns, the easy money behavior disappears. Number 9, Olympia, Washington. Olympia welcomes you with trees, water, and that polished Pacific Northwest calm. It's beautiful. It's also a textbook example of what happens when a smaller market gets pulled upward by a bigger one. Seattle got expensive. Remote work exploded. People looked for space. Olympia benefited. But markets that rise on spillover demand are vulnerable when that spillover slows. Redfin's November 2025 data shows Olympia's median sale price still elevated, over 500K, and up year over year, but it's taking longer to sell than a year ago, and the number of homes sold is down. Again, price isn't the only signal. Volume is a signal. Days on market are a signal. When people stop transacting, it's not because they stopped wanting houses. It's because the numbers stopped working. If you're buying in a place like Olympia, the question isn't, is it nice? It's, is the payment sustainable for the buyer pool that actually lives here? When the answer is no, you don't get a dramatic collapse. You get a long period where sellers chase the market down in slow motion. Number 8, Bend, Oregon. Then you climb over the Cascades. The landscape changes and Bend hits you like a postcard. Mountains, breweries, outdoor culture, a lifestyle market. And lifestyle markets can be the most dangerous markets because demand is emotional. People don't just buy shelter, they buy identity. During the remote work era, Bend became a magnet. The boomtown effect pushed prices into territory that locals couldn't support. The market didn't care because it wasn't being supported by locals. Now, Redfin's November 2025 snapshot shows Bend's median sale price still high, around 775K, and up year over year, but the number of homes sold is down, and days on market have climbed compared with last year. And in markets like Bend, rising days on market isn't a small detail. It's the beginning of a shift because a lifestyle buyer is optional. They can wait, they can rent, they can choose another location. The moment the market loses urgency, it loses leverage. And when leverage disappears in a high-priced market, sellers start discovering something they forgot. A beautiful view doesn't lower your mortgage payment. Number 7, Tacoma, Washington. You drop back into the I-5 corridor, and Tacoma appears with its working-class bones and its affordable compared to Seattle reputation. Tacoma lived off proximity value. Seattle got expensive, so Tacoma got pulled up. But here's the rule. The farther you are from the economic engine, the more fragile your market is when affordability tightens. Redfin's November 2025 numbers show Tacoma's median sale price around 484K, down year over year. Homes are taking longer to sell than last year, and sales volume is down sharply. That combination, prices slipping, days on market rising, sales falling, is not a healthy cool down. That's pressure, and you can feel it in the streets, in the listings that linger, in the price reductions that quietly multiply, in the seller who expected 2021 conditions but wakes up in a 2025 payment reality. Tacoma is where you see the spillover effect reverse. When the bigger city softens, the smaller city doesn't just soften, it gets exposed. Number 6, Medford, Oregon. Now you drive south and the vibe changes again. Medford feels like a regional hub, surrounded by mountains, agricultural roots, and a steady pace. Medford's risk is different. It's not a celebrity boom market. It's a fundamentals market, which means when the fundamentals weaken, jobs, income growth, affordability, the housing market doesn't have a story strong enough to protect it. Redfin shows Medford's median sale price around 415K and up year over year, but homes are taking longer to sell and sales volume is down notably versus last year. That's what you need to learn to read. A market can have flat to up pricing while still being unhealthy, because unhealthy markets don't always fall fast. Sometimes they freeze first, and freezing is dangerous for homeowners who need liquidity. People who must sell due to job changes, divorces, medical issues, or financial pressure. In frozen markets, the seller who has to sell becomes the new comp, and one forced comp can reset an entire neighborhood. Number 5, Spokane, Washington. Spokane was one of the biggest pandemic boom narratives. Big city amenities without the big city cost. A migration magnet. A place where people believed they were getting ahead. But Spokane is also a market where affordability is the entire game. And when rates rise, affordability breaks first. Redfin's November 2025 snapshot shows Spokane's median sale price around 380K, slightly down year over year, with homes taking longer to sell than last year. In a market like Spokane, longer days on market means buyers are hesitating. They're not desperate anymore. They're comparing, they're calculating. And when buyers calculate, sellers stop dictating. Spokane isn't dead, but it's no longer a gold rush. And when a market transitions from gold rush to normal, a lot of people who bought at peak psychology start feeling trapped. That's when you see the next phase. Rentals that don't cash flow, investors that exit, and sellers that chase. Number 4, Gresham, Oregon. You swing back toward the Portland metro, and Gresham sits there as the practical alternative. More space, more suburban structure, historically more accessible. But suburbs don't exist in isolation. They inherit the reputation of the metro area around them, especially when buyers are sensitive to quality of life issues. Redfin's November 2025 data shows Gresham's median sale price around the low 500Ks and down year over year, while days on market have increased from last year. That's the pattern again: slower movement, weaker urgency. Suburban markets depend on confidence. Families buy suburbs because they want stability. When confidence drops, whether from affordability, commuting pain, or perception, buyers hesitate. And hesitation is the enemy of inflated prices. Number 3, Yakima, Washington. Yakima is different. It's less about speculative demand and more about local reality. When a market is powered primarily by local wages, it can't fake affordability. It can't rely on new money forever. Redfin's November 2025 snapshot shows the Yakima's median sale price around the mid 300Ks and up year over year. But homes are taking longer to sell and sales volume is down from last year. If you want to understand Yakima, you need to understand the buyer's math. A small increase in rates can erase purchasing power instantly. When purchasing power drops, the market becomes extremely sensitive to any economic pressure. Higher gas prices, weaker job security, rising insurance costs. Yakima's warning isn't spectacle, it's fragility. And fragile markets don't need a crash headline to hurt homeowners. They just need time. Number 2, Portland, Oregon. Then you cross into Portland, and you don't need a chart to feel the shift. Portland's housing conversation isn't only about interest rates. It's also about confidence, migration decisions, and the premium people are willing to pay to live in a particular environment. Redfin's citywide November 2025 snapshot shows Portland's median sale price around 535K and slightly up year over year, with homes selling in about a month. But zoom in and the story gets sharper. Downtown Portland, according to Redfin's neighborhood data, shows a very different pattern. Prices down dramatically year over year and days on market stretching longer. This is the key lesson. Big markets fracture. One neighborhood can hold while another bleeds. One zip code can feel stable while another becomes a warning sign. And when a metro fractures, investors get cautious, buyers get picky, sellers compete harder. Portland is not one market anymore. It's a set of markets moving at different speeds with different risks. And fractured markets punish people who buy based on the brand name of a city instead of the fundamentals of a neighborhood. Number 1, Seattle, Washington. Finally, you hit Seattle, the engine of the region. The market people still talk about like it's untouchable. Here's the truth. Seattle isn't invincible. It's just expensive enough that it doesn't behave like smaller cities. Redfin's November 2025 numbers show Seattle's median sale price around $865K and up year over year, with homes selling in about 3 to 4 weeks on average, while the number of homes sold is down compared with last year. Even in Seattle, you can see the pressure points. When sales volume drops, that's a signal that fewer buyers can participate at current payments. When a meaningful share of listings show price drops, that's a signal that sellers are negotiating with reality. Seattle is the kind of market that can hold price while the market underneath changes. Because high-income markets can absorb pressure longer. But holding price does not mean safe timing. In markets like Seattle, risk often shows up as longer time to sell at the top end, concessions that don't show up in headline prices condos, and certain neighborhoods softening first investors, stepping back when rent-to-price ratios don't work. Seattle is where a lot of people try to buy the dip because they assume it always bounces. Sometimes it does, but the only people who win that game long term are the ones who can hold through uncertainty without needing to sell. Because in an expensive, competitive market, the biggest danger isn't the buyer who overpays by 3%. It's the buyer who overpays and then has to move. The real point of this road trip. If you expected me to say the Pacific Northwest is crashing, you missed the bigger message. Crashes make headlines. Slow shifts destroy unprepared people. The story across these 10 cities isn't identical. Some prices are up, some are down. Some areas are freezing, some are still competitive. But the warning signs repeat. Days on market rising in multiple cities. Sales volume falling in multiple cities. Price drops, and concessions becoming more common. Buyers gaining patience and negotiating power. Smaller markets showing fragility as spillover demand cools. And on the national level, even with slight improvements in sales, affordability remains stretched and inventory remains a limiting factor. Conditions that keep risk elevated and force buyers to be disciplined. So here's the takeaway. If you're buying, don't fall in love with the story. Fall in love with the math. If you're selling, don't price your home like it's 2021. Price it like buyers have calculators now. If you're investing, don't chase appreciation. Demand a deal that works, even if prices go sideways. The Pacific Northwest is still beautiful, but beauty doesn't protect you from bad numbers. If you want more road trips like this, data first, hype free, hit subscribe, like the video, and tell me in the comments what region you want next. And whatever you do, don't let fear of missing out turn you into the exit liquidity for someone else's peak purchase.